Hi, this is the Magnificent Midlife podcast, and I'm Rachel Lancaster. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started, and the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife, about issues that matter, and sharing fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now is our time. My guest today is Katie Phillips, and Katie is the founder of the School of Self-Love. She is a women's empowerment coach, a love and dating mentor, and author of The Self-Love Affair, a women's guide to a daring and mighty life. Her passion and expertise is inspiring midlifers that they can create a life they love and call in the love of their life without burnout or guilt. Welcome, Katie.
So great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk about this because I have never covered dating and, finding a mate, a soulmate on the podcast. So it's really fun to be doing that with you today. So I would like to know what inspired you to do what you do?
Well, I've been working with women for many years who desire to know and love themselves more. So that's been the foundational work, for a long, long time. And I would have women come to me for different reasons, for wanting to improve their career. It might have been a health piece, financial piece, just general well-being, feeling abundant in life. And I would also get women come who were single and who wanted to meet their soulmate. And I was helping them to manifest, to call in their soulmate. And the work was never about how to meet your person. The work remained true no matter what the desire of the client was. The work is always how to meet yourself, how to come home to yourself. What is it that's energetically standing in the way of you having the thing that you want to have or to feel the way you want to feel? But I would always say to the women who are single, I have to be really transparent. I'm also single. And I never felt fully in integrity actually marketing myself to be able to help a woman to call in her person because I hadn't done it yet. And it was only when I finally met my now husband, James, when I was 43, that I then really aligned with it. And I really understood the healing and the transformation, the process that I went through to energetically align myself to another human being. And what I had to heal to create that then I was able to confidently go out there and say, actually, I can help you call in your person. And there is something, for a while I was kind of helping all ages. And yet there's something very important and special about helping a woman in midlife, because I was a woman in midlife and obviously continue to be as the relationship continues. And it's a very different kettle of fish to dating when you're 20, to dating when you're 30. And I thought, you know what? I really want to very specifically help those women because the conversation is different and they're often coming into the dating space with heartache, or I'm going to put baggage in inverted commas, or, beliefs that it can't happen for them again, perhaps. It's just a very different stage of life. And I absolutely adore working with those women because they absolutely can have a relationship beyond 40, beyond 50, beyond 60. And it's powerful, fun work.
Well, I actually just snuck in under the wire.
Did you?
I met my soulmate when I was 39.
Yeah, brilliant.
But this morning, it was funny. This morning, I was making my drink this morning. I've got a lot of fridge magnets on my fridge. Okay. And one of them says, men are like chocolates. You wait long enough and only the nutty ones are left. And I thought that was quite apposite, really, being as what we're going to talk about in midlife. And I think there's that fear, isn't there? Yeah. That there are only the nutty ones left. Yeah. The dregs, the ones that got left. But then that's applying the same logic to us.
To yourself.
Because if we're available, yes. If we're available, then are we nutty fruit cakes as well, because we happen to have, not got it. I want to say not got it together. That's not what I mean, because we can have it together when we're single, but we haven't done that. We haven't called in that soulmate. And it was my second.
Yeah, but that's how it feels. That's how a woman feels. And it's such an awesome point that you raise, because one of the biggest fears in my clients is all the good men are taken. Yeah, it is only the nutty ones left. A really common question I get is, but surely, you know, at this point in life, and this is like, I don't mean to be triggering here, and the fear is, but they're all going to be the fat, unhealthy, like in debt, seriously problematic people, you know? And it's like, well, but are you? And you do have to then take a look at yourself. I used to think, never going to meet my guy, because I didn't like where I was living. I didn't like the area. And I said, my guy absolutely definitely doesn't live here. He's too cool. He's going to be off out in the world, flying about, you know, speaking at events. I don't know, but he was going to be super cool. And he definitely didn't live in the village I lived in, until I realized, well, I live here and I think I'm okay, you know, and I got a few, you know, things going on in my life that are quite cool. So maybe he does too. And it's just those little tweaks and shifts sometimes is all it takes to really help give a woman the confidence to get out there.
And what I did, it was interesting. I increased my age range, basically, because he got in touch with me. We was online, and he got in touch with me, and he thought he didn't fit any of my criteria at all, but he just thought I looked interesting. So he reached out really just as a sort of, you know, friend and like your profile, etc. But, you know, I'm not expecting anything because I'm outside of all your ranges of everything, you know. And but actually, you know, he turned out to be great. So it's that being flexibility and expanding the boundaries of what's possible, isn't it? As well.
How did he find you if he was out of your range? Like, how did that work?
I don't know. He must have been just randomly looking at profiles, I suppose. I'll have to ask him that when he comes home. I don't know. But I don't know.
Well, I kind of love that.
Maybe I'd said I'd put that this was my ideal, but, you know, I was sort of open to anybody. I don't know.
Yeah. See, but you're just proving the energetics, because when you're energetically aligned with the person that you're desiring to be with, the kind of the mechanism of it doesn't really matter. There will be a mechanism. It could be an introduction from a friend. It could be a matchmaker. It could be a dating app. It could be just standing in the same line at a coffee shop. Actually, I had a client recently meet someone sat next to her on an airplane. Like the mechanism, how you actually meet, is sort of irrelevant. I do get that it's one of the biggest fears of midlife women, though, is online dating. Like, it's just this scary minefield of a place they don't really want to go into. They think it's going to exhaust the life out of them. We kind of have to remember that the vehicle isn't what's important. It's your energy and your belief systems and any wounding that you've not addressed. So he wasn't even in your parameters. You hadn't even put that in, and he still found you. You know, I love that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we met up just for a drink because he happened to be in, you know, my sort of area. Again, he didn't have any expectations. I did. I thought, oh, he looks quite interesting, but he didn't have any expectations. And then subsequently he invited me out to another thing, and he still didn't have any expectations. And at the end of the evening, I said, well, hang on a minute, I thought this was a date. And he said, no.
See, and
so anyway, this is not supposed to be all about me, but yes, energetically,
but everything you're sharing is so applicable to how I'm helping midlife women, because right there was total surrender, and that surrender and non-attachment, is key to receiving what you want. Because when we hold on so tight, like, this has to be it, like this date, he has to be the one, like, that energy is actually quite repelling, you know. So I mean, you're modeling it all. It's great. I love it.
And I would like to just say one more thing, is that we were both completely honest. in our profiles
So
about
good.
our quirks and our silliness.
Yeah.
And we had totally honest pictures. You know, he looked 9 years older than me.
Yeah.
And he had pictures of his children, you know,
All the
and
things you're not
I'm
supposed to
not sure
do.
that I had. But yeah.
No, but that's what dating experts say that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't put pictures of your children on there. You shouldn't put pictures of you with friends, because then they're like, I don't know which one you are. I mean, I just, yeah, I love the honesty.
But that was what drew us to each other, was the honesty, was the
Yeah.
complete and utter honesty. And that was, we were our authentic selves.
And that's what it takes. And that's absolutely what it takes. And this is the thing that so many, I'm going to say women, because I work with women predominantly, but women and men, we're so scared to show our true, authentic self. And sometimes that's also because we don't even know what that is. We haven't even connected with that for ourselves. We don't really have a strong sense of who am I, and you know, what do I value, and what do I want? Like, we're really clear on what we don't want, but what do I want? And really owning that. You know, I have clients. This is actually a really big theme coming up at the moment. I'm not sure why, but a piece around money and wanting to be with a man that's financially stable. This has come up with a few women lately, and they feel so embarrassed about it. They feel ashamed that that is something that they desire, to be with someone that's on the same kind of financial level as they are, if not more. Because they're kind of sick of being the one that takes care of everything. They're quite high achieving women, you know, and they're like, you know, I'm just kind of done with doing it all. And
Been there,
yeah,
first time.
right. I'm done with doing it all, paying for it all, sorting everything out. I just want someone to come in and just be my equal, if not like just take care of me. And they're ashamed to say it. It's almost anti-feminist to say it. And yet it's their true desire. And I think, you know, speaking to what you were saying about honesty and authenticity, really owning who you are, what you value, what you want, what's important to you, and unapologetically just being her and speaking your truth to your potential partner is like, it's key. It's key.
So I know your work has been guided by your life experience,
Mm.
and you've talked obviously about, you know, meeting your soulmate later in life. But I know you've had some tricky times early on, haven't you? That I think must have led you to do what you do now. Is that the case?
Yeah. So I'm in a very beautiful, healthy marriage now. And it really wasn't that many years ago that I didn't feel like that was remotely possible or available to me, because I've got such a history of difficult relationships. I have a huge history of codependency in relationships, a lot of drama, addiction issues. I mean, you know, narcissism. It's all played out over the years in my relationships. And I kind of just thought that I was unlucky for a long time. And even when I started to understand that the reason why I behaved the way I was behaving in relationship, and why the kind of man that I was attracted to or available to have in my life was largely due to my programming and conditioning. If you go right back into my childhood and what I witnessed in my parents and their marriage, while there was love there was a hell of a lot of dysfunction. There was addiction, there was codependency, there was drama. You know, there was all kind of all the things, and I saw how awfully that impacted my mum, actually, who ended up taking her own life when I was 22. So the difficulty in their marriage impacted her so deeply. She didn't know or love herself to the degree to be able to bounce back from a lot of what went on in their marriage, and she couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that was, you know, and to be fair, she was 49. So, and I'm a bit nervous, actually. I turn 49 next year. So I'm just about to have my 48th birthday. And I'm getting to that point of, oh my goodness, I'm about to surpass my mum, which is a strange place to be. But now I'm at this stage of life, I can also see that for Mum, what was going on was major hormonal shifts that back in the, when was it, the 90s, it wasn't being addressed. So her anxiety and depression, they just popped her on antidepressants and anti-anxiety tablets, and they weren't managing her hormones. So I think that really contributed to her death. Another reason, though, why I love working with midlife women, because you've got all that going on while being single, while needing to prepare yourself to be ready for a relationship. But, you know, yeah, I witnessed a lot of dysfunction. I carried that into my own relationships, and I really kind of went into victim with it and thought, well, I just got unlucky in life. That's what was modeled to me. That's all I know. I don't know how to be any other way. I don't know how to have this miraculous relationship that you see on social media. And until I realized it was possible for me and that I could do the healing work, and actually patterns of behavior are just that. They're patterns and they're habits, and we can change them. Like, that's the beauty of a habit. And the discomfort of the awareness of it in the first instance is just horrifically difficult and embarrassing and brings all your stuff up. But through the awareness of, okay, so I've got that pattern, I learned that, I'm triggered by that, I'm available to be treated that way because I learned that. When we start to understand it, then we can go on a journey, which I've done intensively, to really begin to heal those patterns and to love the parts of us that were available to be treated in that way, or were only available for dysfunctional relationships. Yeah. So I really understand women who have been in difficult places in relationship, and I also love to be able to inspire them that you can change and you can create any kind of relationship you want to have. Like, it's totally possible for you, and you have to do the work. It's all about the inner work.
I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate you sharing that. I can't begin to imagine what it must have been like to lose your mum in those circumstances. Yeah. And I think it is real testament to you, and also it's such a valuable lesson. I'm very aware that the way our lives go are really a matter of the choices that we make. And as you said, you initially went to victim, and then you made a choice to do the work. You made a choice to, crazy as it seems, make something better out of what happened to you. And that's a very powerful lesson for all of us to learn, because even if life has taken us one way for a very long time, we can still choose to do things differently. We can still choose to find another path. I think that's very, very powerful. So thank you.
Well, thank you for pausing and acknowledging that. That actually makes me feel a bit emotional. I really appreciate it. It takes a lot of courage, right? It takes tons of courage. And the women I'm working with, that is what they inspire me to do this work, because I see their courage, because I know what it takes. I know the courage it takes to dig deep, to choose to change, to remember that you do have a choice and you can create what you want. And that's actually why, like, all those 13, 14 years ago, when I created the School of Self-Love, that was my inspiration. When I realized that you can be in charge of how you feel, because how you feel is a reflection of what you're thinking. You can be in charge of those two pieces. You are allowed to, it's a real permission piece, you are allowed to decide what you want for your life. You are allowed to decide how you want to feel. You are allowed to have desires, and you're allowed to go for it. And you're allowed to change anything within your conditioning and programming that's stopping you from having that. You are allowed. And I didn't know that until I knew that. So, I was operating in my life for so many years thinking this is just how it is. They're lucky, I'm not. That was the victim piece. And yeah, when I realized you could change it, I became absolutely evangelical about letting everybody know. Everybody know.
Yeah. I know that thing. I can get a bit evangelical too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But there are so many women who, especially I think in midlife, get stuck in the, well, this is the way it is. And there's too much crap around for me to be able to change that. There's too much other stuff impacting me. Whereas I'm always trying to get women to start being proactive as opposed to reactive, and to start taking control back, because by it, when we take the control back, we are super powerful. We're so powerful. And I think sometimes we just don't know how powerful we are, do we? We just don't realize.
No, we really don't. And I feel like at this point, it's important to mention that, because when a woman is in that place of not knowing her power and feeling overwhelmed or disbelieving, even listening to our conversation now, and it's like, oh, that's all very well and good, but I'm just not there. Like, I don't feel powerful. I do feel like a victim. I don't believe I can overcome the way I show up in relationship or the patterns that keep being created around me. And I think it's important to remember, like, I never felt like I could do it either in the beginning. And I've got all sorts of things in my life. We're always evolving and growing and wanting to create the next thing. And the big things in my life now, I feel a little bit like, ooh, can I do that? And I do forget my power, and I worry and I doubt myself. And when we're there, we have to just remember, okay, start with the first step. And the first step is, actually, I would go to like a prayer, something I learned from Marianne Williamson. I don't know if you know of her, but and I love her and her work. And I remember I went to one of her seminars in London years ago, and she said this prayer.
She's back very soon, I think.
Is she?
Isn't she?
Oh, I need to go see her again.
Yes,
yeah.
I think she's back this month.
Oh, yeah. Right. Thank you for saying
July,
that.
we're recording this.
Thank you. I'm going to check that out. But I remember it stuck with me for years, and I've passed this on to countless women, this little prayer. And it's, even though I don't know, I'm willing to be shown. So you're essentially just setting the intention. You're in choice, and you kind of fill in the blanks. So even though I don't know where to begin, I'm willing to be shown. Even though I don't know how to stop being angry with my ex, I'm willing to be shown. Even though I don't know how to change up my patterns of behavior and relationship, I'm willing to be shown. And then we're just that statement is it's just, you can kind of feel it as I say it, I think. I certainly do. It's like you can just feel the energy opening up, and suddenly there's like an availability. You're not shut down anymore, because it's so easy to go, I just don't know. I don't know where to begin. Oh, it's all right for them. I'm overwhelmed, so I just won't do anything. And that you can just feel how tight and restrictive and shut down that is. So if all you did was say, even though I don't know, I'm willing to be shown, it's amazing how life, the universe, kind of just will slowly guide you and drop something in your path. And for some women, actually right now, be listening to this podcast. And then it might be a book. And then it might be a coach or a therapist, but you'll be shown, because there's no one route to healing and transformation and manifesting. It's like, it's your route, but you just kind of got to open up the energy to be available to receive the guidance on your perfect next step.
And what are the biggest blocks that you see women? We've talked a little bit about it, these limiting beliefs that we have. Is there anything else that sort of really strikes you, that midlife women especially, what do they put in their way?
Yeah, I mean, so many things, and I've done them all, have had them all. One of the biggest ones is dating just sounds exhausting. I've got too much going on. They've either got children, one or all of these: children, elderly parents, massive hormonal shifts. Maybe they're trying HRT, but they're trying to figure out how to manage their perimenopause or menopause. the job, the career, they're either at the peak of their career perhaps, or they're at that place where they're like, do you know what, I'm done with this, I'm going to change course, I'm going to change direction completely, and they're in that overwhelm of what the hell am I going to do instead, or they're starting up something new. There's a lot going on for them. So the idea of dating just feels like, oh my God, I do not have the capacity or the energy or the time to do that and to figure it out. And it genuinely feels like something else to figure out. And they're already done with having to figure everything out on their own. And it feels like another thing on their to-do list. And it's like, oh, just no. And so they shut down to it. And then and I did this a lot, then they go into, but my life's really good though. So I can, I don't have time and space for that. And my life's really good. So I just focus on living this great life that I have. And what they do there is they suppress the true desire that really what they want is to share their life with somebody else. And then kind of dovetailing with that is the feeling that actually a relationship will be a drain on my energy. Maybe it'll be a drain on my business, a drain on my finances, a drain on my ability to parent well or to be there for my parents. No thanks. I don't need a drain on my life. But what if the relationship could actually help you with all of that? What if it could give you energy? What if it could be a support? What if there was two of you to manage everything, not just you? So those two pieces are really huge. And then all sorts of things like body confidence at midlife is a really big one. Even just believing it's possible, even just believing that I could have maybe have another great love. Maybe they had a great love. Maybe they lost maybe their ex-partner, husband died. Can I even recreate that? Who do I even think I am to have that again? Isn't that greedy? Surely I'm too old now. All the good men or women are taken. We've talked about that. I could go on and on, but these are the big ones. They're real big.
And how do you help women get past those?
We check out what else could be true. And because there's always, if you look at any belief that we have, we are allowed, again, there's this permission piece, we're allowed to then question, well, what else could be true? Because when I believe that, I'm only getting that outcome. When I believe I'm too old, I'm not allowed to have a second great relationship, I'm not in great shape to have a relationship. When they believe that, they're not getting what they want. And so a first step is to question, well, what else might be true? Maybe my guy or girl, maybe my guy will love the shape I am. What if he just adores how I look? Because we're so judgy on ourselves, aren't we? But what if he just adores how I look? Mm-hmm. What if my guy loves the package I come with, adores my children? What if my guy adds energy to my life and is a massive support so that I can grow my business where I want to grow it? I mean, just mindset is an initial place to start. But often, and this is where the real work comes in, often a lot of what's going on is a lot of childhood wounding. We do a lot of inner child work. There's, heart healing from, pain from past relationships that needs to be worked through. And I take women through a deep transformational process to move them to where they want to be. It's therapeutic coaching.
Yeah, there is so much inner work, as you say, to do, isn't there, just to get to that stage.
Yeah.
It was interesting when you talked about baggage, because when I was newly divorced in my mid-30s, I had bought into the narrative that my son was my baggage. And I remember when I first went online dating, I didn't talk about being a mom. I didn't say I had a child. And I wanted to establish a connection before I told them, because I thought of him as baggage. But actually, he's part of me. He's the amazing gift that is he's the package,
Yeah.
And in the same way that my body can appeal to a person, somebody is going to think my son is amazing and a great thing to have along. And I think that's definitely changed now. My attitude towards that has really changed. But when it initially happened to me, that's definitely what I had, but I wouldn't approach it like that now. It wouldn't be. And so my advice to anybody is that you're a package. Your whole life experience is you.
Yeah.
It's like the wrinkles on our faces, they are the signs of our lives. They are the experience and our lived experience.
Yeah, so true.
So yeah, it's not about baggage, is it?
No, and I had the same thing. I had a little boy, and excuse me, and I thought, who's gonna want me with him? And it's isn't that awful? Doesn't that feel so awful to say?
It's terrible, isn't it?
So
Looking back, it's
terrible.
awful. Yeah.
But my husband.
But that's what society had taught me.
Yeah, totally. And I
was damaged to goods.
Yes, exactly.
I suppose.
But my husband now quite often, he comes into, so I have a mastermind group, and he'll quite often come in and does some chatting, and he's a coach as well, and with the women in the group. And the other day actually, and I didn't know this, it's funny, you think we know each other so well, and we've hosted calls together with clients many, many times. And just a couple of weeks ago, we did a call, and he shared something I'd never heard him say before. And he said, I really, really wanted to be with a woman that had a child or had children. And I didn't know that about him, because he has 2 children, and his daughter is the same age as my son, and his son is just a little bit older. And the 3 of them get along really, really well. Like, who knew? One of the biggest fears is like, our kids aren't going to get on. It's going to be a nightmare. He's going to have a nightmare ex-wife. All these things that you just think this blended family dynamic are going to be really, really difficult. Actually, I mean, that was part of my own work I had to move through to become open to having whatever family situation was going to be perfect for me, for us. Turns out, James wanted to be with someone that had a child, and his ex-wife is just lovely, and they're best of friends, and I get along really well with her. And, it's all kind of worked out rather wonderfully. I didn't know that was possible until I did. And, and I didn't know that there were guys out there that wanted to be with someone that had a child, that loved children. He adores my son. I mean, my son annoys him sometimes, because you don't have the same unconditional love for somebody else's children. It is different. And he adores him, and my son adores James. And I never knew that could be possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? The actual possibilities.
Yeah.
And I think when if you've had a child, you understand what it's like. So then you're, I can't imagine, actually, it must be very difficult, I think, for women who get involved with men who have children when they don't have their own, because they're then, I suppose there's all those expectations on them that they're going to feel a certain way towards the children or be able to cope with the children, and maybe they just don't want to. So
yeah
there's all sorts of complications, aren't there?
I mean, it
and
yet
get very tricky.
But that's the important piece, is it's about preparing yourself to be ready to date and owning the kind of person that you want to be with and the kind of dynamic that you want to be involved in. I have clients who prioritize their career, so they've missed that window of being able to have their own children. Got a lot of clients egg freezing and that kind of thing at the moment. And so they do actually desire to be with someone that has children, because then they get to parent in a new way. It's a way of them to have that experience, and they're super open to that. And I have clients that are absolutely unapologetically not available to be with someone with children. And the only thing I would say to that is own that. Brilliant. Own that is what you want, and surrender and stay open to whatever is meant to be, because you might think that your person with children is what you don't want, but you don't know, your person might have grown children who've well and truly flown the nest, and who actually have a super healthy functional relationship with their dad or mum, trying to be inclusive here. And it could just be wonderful. It's great to have your desires and to own them. And we think we know we think we're so clever that we know the exact package our person must come in. But I like the idea of really opening it up to the kind of the miracles and possibilities of life, and allowing your person to come in and to be surprised that, oh, I didn't realize that he or she was going to look like that or come in that package. And yet, my goodness, I'm so attracted to you, and you're my person. And we have to, I think it's so important to stay open, really important.
Well, as I've written about in my book, I was desperate to have another child. So I was looking for a man who'd make a baby with me. And I fell in love with a man who got 3 children and had a vasectomy. So that was really silly of me, really, wasn't it? But, I suppose I was open to it, and I had a ready-made family. It hasn't always been easy. I would say, blended family is it can be great, it can be really difficult, or it can be somewhere in the middle. But again, this was an example of him being completely, actually not really what I was looking for. And actually, 17 years later, I'm still happy.
That's
And,
amazing.
I'm married now.
Yeah.
And both of our second relationships have outlasted both of our first marriages.
Yes.
So we're doing quite well. I know. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
and so,
really
but
good.
it's about, I think, that being open and as you say, acknowledging who you are, being honest about your desires, but also being open and flexible and curious about what else might work.
I love that word. The curiosity is such an important piece, that to have that energy about you when you're manifesting, calling in your person, to keep the curiosity, to keep that alive is, it's so important. And by the way, I too thought that I wanted to have more children. I was desperate to have more children when I met James, and he actually went on to have a vasectomy after about a year of us being together. We actually made the decision. So I went into that relationship thinking, I really want to have more children. I'd kept all the baby clothes, the whole thing. But once we were together and we'd blended our 3 children together, and we'd got to know each other, my desire changed. And it was a huge grieving process. I'll never forget sitting on the floor with all the baby clothes, giving them to charity, but literally touching every piece and crying my eyes out because I didn't get to have more of my own children. But what I did get to have was a wonderful relationship and 2 children that aren't mine. And yet we've created something pretty special together. And it was a grieving. And then what became my new desire, because our desires are allowed to change too. That's the other thing, so
yes,
right.
Yes.
And we were like, our 3 children don't get enough of us as it is, because they've got other parents. There's that whole split household thing. And we rather liked the time when it was just the 2 of us. We got a lot of that. We loved that, and that became very precious. And so, we made the joint decision to not have any more children, and here we are.
So, going back to online dating, how can women do online dating well, or what do you think about online dating?
I think, what do I think about online dating? It's fab, because that's how I met my husband. Thank God for Bumble. It was brilliant. And it's not the only way. And information is power. So rather than just making that blanket decision, it won't work for me, or I'm only, it's going to be full of kind of weirdo stalkers who are going to send me dick pics, all of that, which is a big fear. We've got lots of negative beliefs around online dating, which are all very understandable. And when that is your focus, that is what you're going to get. That's what you're creating. It's so important to start looking for success stories. I mean, you're a success story when it comes to online dating. Yeah. I am. There are gazillions of them. There are so many people meeting their person with real authenticity, like you did, with real honesty, just with such ease and fun. Like, it is possible. It's happening every single day. So start seeking out those positive success stories. And like I said, information is power. So learn how, and this is something that I do with my clients, learn how to get the most out of online dating, understand how the algorithms work. I mean, it's true. Apps are designed for you to fail. They're designed for you to have to keep going back on them. They don't want you to meet your person. Yeah, they love a success story because that's great for their marketing, but they don't really want you to meet someone because that has you leave the app. So understand how that works. You can get to know that. Understand how to create profile pictures and write profiles that work well for you. There are ways and means to do that. Let go of that attachment, that expectation to your person having to come from that only route. It's one method of meeting people. And really, for you to meet your person, the focus has to be on you. The focus has to be on preparing your energy and clearing out anything that is blocking the way, the thing that's standing between you and your person. It's not the vehicle. The vehicle actually isn't even up to you. This goes, we could do a whole other conversation on the real work I'm doing with women, because we're really then starting to look at masculine, feminine energy dynamics. And the work is to help a woman really surrender into her feminine. And when we're that's a whole other conversation, but when we're in that place and connected with our empowered feminine, there's something incredibly magnetic about hanging out in that space. And when we are connected with our empowered feminine, the intuition and the guidance that will drop in for us, that guides, we get that inspired guidance to what our next right step is when it comes to dating. So your next right step might not be to go online. It might be actually to shut off all the apps for now and take a break and maybe just be available for him, her to come in however they're going to come in. And you'll be shown the next right move when you're in your feminine energy. This attachment to it having to be online, or just even making online dating some kind of focus of your attention, I just kind of want women to, let's just put that to one side. It's not about that. It's about you and who you're being and what you're available for, and allowing yourself to be in a receiving state for your person to come in the way they're meant to come in. It's why we love rom-coms. We love that thing called the meet cute. The meet cute is the way the two Hollywood stars meet each other in a film. It's always just wonderful and beautiful and miraculous. It's like, oh, they're both going to Bloomingdale's at Christmas time and it's busy and they're doing their Christmas shopping and they jump in the same cab and their bags get swapped. It's those stories that we love. And if love was predictable, oh my God, it would be so boring. We don't want to meet somebody in that in a boring, predictable way. We want them to come in the way they're meant to. That's perfect for you.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because actually I had that experience for my first marriage, but then it didn't work.
Right.
It lasted a long time, relatively speaking, but it didn't work in the end. Although it had all of those serendipitous things about it, and how we met. We had all of that, and the second one was much more sort of formulaic, I suppose, and yet so far, touch wood, we're all right. But I think it's also interesting that we've talked about how people change. Well, I would have hated my husband now if I'd met him when I was in my 20s.
Me too.
He would not have been the right person for me at all at that time in my life.
Yeah.
And he would have hated me.
Yeah.
We just would not have got on. But the other thing is that online dating pool is very big, because he and I also would never have met in real life.
Yeah.
Our lives are so different. Our worlds are so different. We just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Same with us.
For that, I'm very grateful to online dating.
Yeah, and right there, that's the lens to view it through. That lens, when you view online dating through that lens, you're going to be approaching it with a very different energy, with optimism, with curiosity, with hope. You know, when you're approaching it with, oh my God, this is going to be a
with
nightmare.
fun.
With fun.
You can just go and have some fun.
Who knew?
Yeah.
It can actually be fun. It can actually be fun. Yeah. You take the pressure off.
Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. It's been really fun, and I've really enjoyed it. So what are your sort of final thoughts? What do you really want women in midlife to know if they do want to find their soulmate, if they're out there looking and they're feeling a bit despondent and wondering if it's even possible or whether they want it? What's your best advice for them?
That woman is probably only looking for one person, right? They're looking for that one person. I do believe we can have multiple soulmates, by the way, but that is, again, another podcast. But they're looking for one person, and that one person is looking for them and exactly all that they are. And when you're dating, if you meet people that don't feel like the right fit for you, or that you're not the right fit for them, don't make that mean anything about yourself. It just means they're not your one. So actually it's good news, because you can strike them off the list of the thousands of people that are looking for their person. So yay, that's good news. And remain available for your one, because they're looking for you too. I think that's really important to remember. We get so caught up in our own stuff, our own worries, our own baggage and limiting beliefs and our own vulnerability. And we forget that our person is struggling with all of that too. Like my husband, he had the same fears. He had the same vulnerabilities. He had, just as I did. But he was looking for me, and he thinks that I am absolutely perfect for him, and I think he's absolutely perfect for me. We've both got our stuff. We definitely niggle each other. You know, it's not all unicorns and rainbows here every day. And he is absolutely, without doubt, my person. And it kind of keep your eye on that prize, that one person thinks that everything about you, your quirks, your idiosyncrasies, the package that you are, the way you look, your financial status, your job, all the things, they're fully accepting and loving of that, because that's who they've been looking for. And there's only one. So yeah, that's what I would want to leave them with. They're looking for you too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, follow, and share it. Also, giving a 5-star review really helps get the word out. You'll find the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you can get my book, Magnificent Midlife, Transform Your Middle Years, Menopause, and Beyond. Make the very best of your next chapter. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.